Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are obviously running up against some very key philosophical disagreements about how to deal with the issues before us in the conference. It's been said that this is not a conference to reduce the deficit. And it's true. This conference's job is not to put together the comprehensive deficit reduction and debt package that our Congress needs to do. But the work we are doing here is very relevant to that effort. And at a minimum, this should not be a conference to increase the deficit. We are talking about how to deal with extending the Social Security payroll tax relief. We are talking about how to reform and extend the unemployment insurance benefits at the difficult times that we face in our economy right now, and talking about how to reform Medicare and the SGR to make sure that seniors continue to have proper access to medical care. And there are costs associated with each of those. But one of the points we have to remember is that just because we have issues that this conference is needing to deal with that reflect agreed costs that we, I think, have brought agreement around this table to support, does not mean that we simply have a free hand to just blow the debt out or to do so in a way that runs up the deficit. And the bottom line is that we've got to remember, as we conduct these deliberations, that every one of the individuals that we've talked about in the context of our discussions today, whether it be with regard to the premium support, or whether it be with regard to adjustments to Medicare, or whether it be with regard to any other aspect of the offsets, every one of the individuals that we've talked about today is impacted as much by the damage to our economy and the damage to their families and their jobs by our mounting national debt and our refusal to recognize that we've got to stop the tax and spend approach of the federal government, as much as they are by these adjustments. Now, we're trying to find some adjustments that have the least amount of pain. We are trying to find some adjustments that have broad support. But the bottom line is we can't simply always say, you know, we face some emergencies, we face some critical priorities that we need to address, and because of that, we're just going to have to do what Congress has always done, and that is just put it on the credit card. We can't keep doing that. That's why we're having this difficult discussion today. And in the context of the question of whether we should address this problem by raising taxes or by dealing with the spending side, I think there's been some legitimate agreement among all parties that the revenue piece as well as the spending piece need to be a part of how we approach it. We should remember, though, and if I understand this correctly, and I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong on this, Jack, the tax proposals are permanent tax increases. They don't just go on for 2 years or for the year extension like we had for the payroll tax relief and the unemployment relief here. They're permanent. Even though they're scored for 10 years, they go on indefinitely. And that's just one of the difficult parts of how to put together the kind of relief that we need to put together for a deficit neutral, at least a deficit neutral package in this committee that would not ultimately represent a continued expansion of the federal government. And I just want to make the point that I think that it's incorrect to perceive this as cherry picking or as trying to go in and identify, you know, some of the specific areas that seem to be easier achieved, and that is somehow an inappropriate way to approach this. I really believe we've got to start recognizing that although this is not the time and place where we will put together the large comprehensive debt package, it is the time and place for us to do the objectives of this committee's work in a way that is deficit neutral, and we've got to start finding the pieces as we do so.